Hi, hello, and welcome back to this week's episode of the CeMAP Study Podcast, where every week we get together and we battle various dogs, just like we are today, to stop making noises on the microphone while we try and help you with your CeMAP studies. I'm Charlotte.
I'm Maria.
And we just do this every so often to try and help you guys out. Apologies for the psychopathic terrier that you can hear wrestling in the background. At some point, he'll get his shit together, but that some point is not right now. This week's episode, we are going to be talking about... What are we going to be talking about?
Oh, I don't know. You're in charge.
CeMAP 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Topic 7.
Oh, what's topic 7?
Basically just like solicitor things. So everybody...
Solicitor things?
Yeah, everybody always says, why does it take so long to buy a house?
Yeah.
One of the big reasons, not the only reason, but one of the big reasons is solicitors. They just take forever. Bandit, drop those socks, please. So, Maria, you might as well do the thing and then we can figure out what we're doing with this dog.
Cue intro music.
Okay, I think we've just about got our shit together for this week.
On it.
Bandit's in the bathroom, no doubt hunting for more things that he can bring to us.
Or he's in the toilet.
What I haven't mentioned, What I haven't mentioned is if you want help with CeMAP studies and you're not sure where to start or who we are or why we do what we do, you can go to futureinfinance.co.uk. I help people get CeMAP qualified with e-learning courses and masterclasses, which is like a fast track course on crack. So loads of companies offer fast track courses. I did one myself, still failed spectacularly. The idea is you go in on a Monday, by Friday you should be ready to sit your exam. But not always, dependent on the provider that you go with and how you learn stuff. So the masterclass takes that one step further and basically says, I will work with you for 5 days and then I will... Sorry, the Chinese takeaway is figuring itself out. I will then stay with you until you are qualified. So you get me on WhatsApp, we can have phone calls, we can have extra one-to-ones until you've passed all your exams. I'm so confident that I will help you get qualified that I offer a 100% money-back guarantee. Dates have just come up before the start of next year. If people are thinking ahead for their life plans, if so, go you, because I can barely plan what I'm going to have for breakfast tomorrow, which, speaking of, we need to do a food shop after we've recorded this podcast. But
yes, boss.
We're going to rein it back in. So, CeMAP 2 and 3, topic 7. If this is your first time you're joining us, go back and do the first episodes. But basically, we follow the chapters of the textbook. And this one talks about the legal things that have to happen when you buy a house.
Yeah.
And the first bit of the chapter is heavily dedicated to solicitors.
Yeah.
So when you buy a house, you have to have a solicitor. Legally, you don't, but a lender is not going to give you a mortgage without one.
No way.
Because there's certain things that solicitors have to do, and they have to do right, to make sure the mortgage company's happy to lend you the mortgage.
So you technically don't have to have one, but you're not going to get a mortgage without one.
Exactly. If you were buying a property in cash, I don't know if you'd need one. I would assume you'd still get one. But I don't know where we stand. But it's not a legal requirement to have one. It's just a requirement from the lender.
Yeah.
So you found a house that you like, you decide you want to buy it.
Yeah.
You put an offer in, you're dealing with the mortgage company to try and get a mortgage. That's going on in the background. And then you are going to speak to a solicitor.
I'm really sorry, guys. Dog is an absolute knob.
And the solicitor has to do certain checks when it comes to the property. And that's what takes, alongside the mortgage, that's what takes so much time.
Yeah.
So the first thing that they're going to investigate, as the textbook calls it, is the title of the property. So the owner, who owns the house now, do they have a legal entitlement to sell it? I love to tell the story about the guy who bought the land in... I feel like we've covered this in another podcast episode.
Yeah, we have, definitely.
Buys a plot of land down south somewhere as an investment, doesn't do anything with it, emigrates, and then one of his mates from school is like, hey dude, see that you've built on your land, looks fancy, what's going on? And actually, somebody had just decided to fake documents to fake ownership of that land and then sell it to a massive company who bought it and built their offices on it. Guy freaks out, comes back from whatever country he'd emigrated to, takes them to court, and he's like, I own this land, hello, here's my documents. And sure enough, the court said, oh yeah, you do own it, shit. Sorry guys, you can't have it, take the stuff down. Give him his land back, yeah. So that's why the title searches are important. Now we have the
land registry.
Land registry, yes, is the next thing, but
else
like
is-
registration of title. So you have to register a property with
Yeah.
land registry if you're going to do certain things like transfer the ownership, attach a mortgage to it or a charge to it, which we'll come on to. And it means that eventually everything will be recorded on a database where we can just evidence and go, oh yeah, that is the person that owns that house. It'll take out the legwork of the solicitor going, okay, prove to us that you own it. Do you have documents?
Yeah.
And are these documents real? So
Yeah.
eventually this will be less of a problem because it's now a mandatory thing, but it didn't used to be. So there's still houses
Catch
and
up to
land
play.
that are going to be kind of unregistered, and it makes the solicitor's job a little bit more difficult. The solicitor has to look back over the last 15 years worth of ownership as well, just to make sure that they're doing a decent enough job. The next thing that they're going to check is the land registry search, and that's going to show what charges are attached to the property.
Right.
This might be the first time you're hearing charges and you're like, Charlotte, I don't know what that means. Basically, anybody that registers an interest in a property.
Okay, so like a mortgage or...
A mortgage is the big one, yeah.
Yeah.
So when you take out a mortgage, another word for a mortgage is a legal charge.
Oh, that's where the second charge thing comes from.
Correct. So first charge mortgages, second charge mortgages, all that stuff is going to be on the land registry checks, which is different from the land charges checks, just to make it super extra complicated.
Fun. Yeah.
The land charges checks is to do with something called spousal interest.
Right.
Have you heard of this before?
Is it where you are a married couple living in the house but only one of you's on the deed?
Yes, well, yeah, pretty much. So that's exactly it. Basically, if you are a couple, and let's say you stay at home, look after the kids, and your partner goes to work. So when your partner took out the mortgage for the house, they only put their name on the mortgage and they only attached their name to the property.
Yeah.
That's fine, but then you have no legal interest in that property.
Yeah.
Should you ever divorce, or should your partner ever stop paying the mortgage and the house gets repossessed, you can stand up in court and go, but I live here too, you can't chuck me out because I've done nothing wrong.
That's fair.
You can do that by registering your interest
Okay.
with the land charges registry. It's
Something
called,
to consider, guys.
yeah, it's called spousal interest, and
Yeah.
it will flag up on the search. So really important for divorced couples. I've definitely seen instances of one couple trying to sell the house without telling the other person to try and slip it through the net.
Yeah.
It won't get through as long as both people are registered at the land charges registry.
Right.
That's where that comes from. That was nice and easy.
Yeah, that was pretty simple.
What else is there? Check me notes. Oh, local authority searches. Have a stab in the dark at that, Maria. What do we think that covers?
What the local authority has over the house or on the land, so permissions.
Kind of. Yeah, so you're not a million
Kind
miles
of
away.
means no.
No, it doesn't mean no. You're not a million miles away. But it's other stuff like, are they planning on building a housing development in your back garden that's already been approved,
Right, okay.
but nobody's declared it?
Okay.
Massively going to impact the cost of your property.
Yeah.
So what happens is people, they live in rural properties and then they realise that the plot of land behind them has been sold, and somebody says, oh, they've had planning permission for whatever.
New build estate.
And at that point they go, shit, I need to sell the house. At that point it's too late.
Yeah.
Your property value is already going to be impacted because they're going to see it. Similarly, if HS2 is being built through your property...
Oh!
Yeah.
Love a good HS2 property grab.
Exactly. So that's another thing that is important to check. Motorways being built close to your house because that affects your air pollution and noise pollution. And
what was it? This 5th, 6th, whatever fucking runway they were trying to build or do. Was it Gatwick or Heathrow? I lose track of which one's which.
Exactly.
Everyone was furious about it.
All that kind of stuff.
Okay, so maybe solicitors are worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they just
No shade to
press a button
solicitors.
and pay a fee and then triple that fee and pass it on. I don't know.
Okay.
I've got no idea how solicitors work. Did I mention that another word for a solicitor is a conveyancer?
No.
So, this is important. I didn't know, when I worked at the mortgage broker, I didn't know what the word conveyancer meant and I was there for a good few years, and I was like, it's just too late to ask. People use the word every day.
Oh, is it like the third time you've met someone and you can't remember the name?
Exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
And they'd be like, just going through the conveyancing process. And I'd be like, I don't know what the fuck that
Cool.
is.
Yeah, sounds good.
What is the conveyancing process? I don't know. It's just another word for solicitor. It's just a solicitor that deals exclusively in property purchase.
Yes, I have heard it.
You can have solicitors that deal exclusively in divorce stuff or company acquisitions or whatever. A solicitor that exclusively deals with property purchases is known as a conveyancer.
Cool.
And the job that they do is known as the conveyancing process.
That makes sense.
So what will happen is you'll apply for a mortgage, you'll probably use a mortgage advisor, and your mortgage advisor will go, this is where we're up to with your lender and your mortgage application, because that's what I do. But you're going to have to go and check where your solicitor's up to, because they've got shit to do as well.
Yeah.
So they work kind of independently of each other, but it's the solicitor's job to notify the lender if there's anything that comes up as a cause for concern, like a new motorway being built nearby. The solicitor will say, lender, look, we've seen this, we feel like you might be interested to know what the deal is, because it might affect the value of the property.
Right, okay.
So that's another register that they check, the local authority one. They also do a bankruptcy search.
Yes.
That's pretty straightforward. It's exactly what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
They're going to check to make sure that nobody that has an interest in the property, like the person that owns it, has been declared bankrupt. Because what they might do is think, fuck, I'll sell the house. But actually, when you become bankrupt, your house kind of belongs to the company until it's settled. So you'd be expected to sell your house to pay off your debt when you become bankrupt.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you see Katie Price got arrested at the airport today after having a facelift from Turkey.
No.
She came back and she was arrested getting off the plane for her bankruptcy charges. Apparently she's like £750,000.
Yeah, every so often something pops up on a fucking E-News or something headline with something else about Katie Price, and I heard that she had finance problems.
I know nobody cares, but I was just...
I
was thinking about bankruptcy. So I think she's avoided going through... She's been declared bankrupt, but she's avoided paying off her debts, as stated by the facelift that she's just had in Turkey, or a teeth, or whatever it is that she's had done.
I know she owns a big spread down south. Like, the house has got land and stables. And she's got that fucking obnoxious pink Range Rover and horse box, doesn't she?
Yeah. So that house, when she was declared bankrupt, she would have to sell it to pay off her debts if there's more than £1,000 worth of equity in the property. Which, let's be honest, any house that you buy, because you're already putting down like a 10% deposit, you're going to have more than £1,000 worth of equity. So what people do is they go, I'll just transfer my property into my partner's name, problem solved. You also can't do that. Your partner can buy you out of the property,
right?
But they have to be able to afford to do that. And, you know, if they're buying half of the equity out of the property, that might be like £100,000.
It's a lot of money.
A lot of money for them to then find on their own.
Yeah.
Usually you get 3 years to decide what you're doing with the house. So you do, it's not like you go bankrupt and they're like, cool.
Right, next week.
Yeah, bugger off. But if somebody makes an inquiry about purchasing a property, they will notify the trustee or whoever's managing the bankruptcy to say, just to let you know they're trying to sell the house. Because then they make sure the money goes to the right person, because the money won't belong to the bankrupt person.
Okay.
It will belong to I think it's the phrase is the official receiver or whoever's managing the bankruptcy.
Okay.
Because that money will go towards settling some of their bankruptcy debt.
Which seems fair.
Yeah. So bankruptcy search, that's another one. What was the last one? Oh, I think that's all the searches.
Oh.
There's one called a commons search, but I'm not going to go into that because it's really dull. And, you know, this podcast episode, I'll be honest, it's not been floating my boat so far. But the commons registry search is just going to shoot it right into the...
Okay, you've got textbooks.
2 to 3 star review stage, and I'm not about that. We were on 64 5-star reviews so far, so keep leaving them if you haven't, please, and thank you. But the... last thing I wanted to talk about for this topic is to do with fixtures and fittings.
Right.
So when you buy or sell a house, you have to establish what are you going to take with you when you sell it, or what are you going to be buying when you buy it. Because some people sell houses fully furnished.
Yeah, I think my mum did. The person that came to view the house that eventually bought it was like, I really like the staging, so basically just my mum's interior design taste. And she was like, what can I buy? what can you leave in the house that I can buy?
No way.
Yeah. And Mum was like, fuck it, everything. What do you want? I'll stick a Post-it note on it and tell the movers to leave it. And that's literally
That's
what we
actually
did.
the way forward, isn't it?
To be honest with you, yeah. Because they downsized quite drastically and half the fucking furniture was not going to fit anyway. So that worked out pretty well. But I guess it comes down to, like, I know now a lot of kitchens are pretty much freestanding.
Yeah.
So technically they're not bolted into the wall.
And this is the thing, there is a form that a buyer's solicitor will give to the seller and say, here's a tick box exercise, what are you taking and what are you leaving? And it's really important because things like an auger oven.
Yeah.
Things like summer houses in your back garden, technically you can move them.
So that happened with the bungalow.
No way.
Yeah, you remember that awful piece of decking in the middle of the house, in the middle of the garden, outside the kitchen window. When we viewed it, there was a really nice, it was a summer cabin, it wasn't a shed, it was like a summer cabin.
Yeah.
And when we moved in afterwards, they'd just taken it, they lifted it over the back fence onto a low loader and fucked off with it.
Yeah.
And there was just a gaping fucking hole in the ground with decking, which was murder decking. And I obviously, it had been organised, it wasn't a shock to anybody else but me, because I was like, I had fucking plans for that. There was going to be a library and heaters and lights and all kinds, and now I've just got a fucking gravel pit.
So that's exactly why, because it affects the value of the home. So the seller has to tick a box to say, this is what I'm taking, this is what I'm leaving. It's generally assumed that anything that is bolted into the property, it's fixed into the property.
Yep.
They're going to leave.
Interesting. So fitted furniture.
Yep.
A lot of places have built-in wardrobes, stuff like that.
Yep.
So we had a load of fitted bookcases and stuff. But I want to take them. I don't want to leave them. They're well expensive.
So you'd have to tick them on your little sheet. You'd have to tick them on the sheet because it's generally assumed they are left. They don't have to be, but that's the assumption. And actually, it's a really popular exam question. What would be classed as it's something like what would be classed as a fixture out of these things? And if you think it's fixed into the property or it's bolted into the property, generally that can be left. But like carpet, some people take the carpets when they move, and for me that's wild.
That's actually quite funny though. Can you imagine buying a house and being like, I swear to God, there was carpet.
Because it's not bolted into the property.
It's not. And carpet is quite, a nice carpet is expensive.
Exactly. So it's really important for you guys, I guess not so much as mortgage advisors, unless you're dead tight with the person that you're working with, to be like, just double check what they're taking and what they're leaving. Because if you really love that summer house and that auger oven, are you going to get them? Because it doesn't always happen.
No, yeah, I can see that.
And actually, there's not a lot more that goes on in this topic. It feels like quite a nice, short and sweet one. There's been nothing wild that's gone on. So if you've fallen asleep, apologies, but at least you learnt something before you fell asleep.
To wake people up for important moments.
What are the big things called that you clang together? What are they called?
Pans?
No. The big...
Cymbals?
No, because a cymbal is... Oh, I don't know. Anyway. Moving on. Guys, if you've listened to this episode and you feel like you've learned something... great, please make sure you hit the like and subscribe and follow button. I've got Instagram, I've got TikTok. I run monthly free training sessions. Every few weeks I jump on Instagram and do an Instagram live session, and I'm like, come on and ask me questions and let me help for free. There is literally so much free stuff out there that I offer that...
You could probably pass it without. No, you couldn't. I'm pretending that people can pass it without. No, definitely, although there is free stuff on the website, so if you're not sure and you're shilly-shallying and dilly-dallying about whether you'd like to, hop onto the website. You literally, I think it's just an email, isn't it?
Yeah.
And was it 15 hours of free swag stuff?
Absolutely free content for getting through your CeMAP studies. Go and check that out first, because you might watch it and be like, don't like her, she's not for me. And that's absolutely fair enough. There are other people out there.
Yeah.
They're not as fun as I am, in my personal, professional opinion.
I'm here, so I obviously agree with you. You are my boss.
And also she's a hostage at this point. But guys, please remember these are not comprehensive study guides. So they're just here as a bit of fun to help you study on the go, or just to get you away from that god-awful textbook that you need. So yeah, that's everything.
That's it.
That's all we've got for this week. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your week. And we will catch you for the next one.